Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Jai Ram Hare Hare.
Thank you so much for waiting. Vanilla Mataji, Gomadi Mataji, Samyukta Mataji, Sapan Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam. All glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Let us begin. Mangalacharana prayer, okay? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukhaṁ karoti vācālam pangam langayate kirim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastam gatopi va Yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhyabhyantaram suchihi Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. I hope you're all doing well. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday. TGI it's called, Thank God it's Friday. In corporate circle, we feel that Monday to Friday, after working, yes, when Friday will come. So Friday came already. Friday also, all the Friday evening, that's also going down. That's it. And we feel that in corporate circle, like whenever we are waiting for Friday means Saturday, Sunday holidays, right? That's where that's actually human brain wants just simply peace. Ultimate peace we can find in and process of devotional life. So I'm sharing my screen. Yes, let us begin our readings. Yeah, you are able to see now, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, we will read this pastime of Jayabharata. Okay, yeah, you can start, Mataji. Samyukta Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. The life of Jadabharata. In his next life, King Bharata took birth in the family of a pure, saintly Brahmana priest and was known as Jadabharata. By the Lord's mercy, he could again remember his past lives. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, "From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness." As he grew up, Jadabharata became very much afraid of his friends and relatives because they were very materialistic and not at all interested in making spiritual progress. The boy was in constant anxiety, for he feared that by their influence he would again fall down into animal life. Therefore, although he was very intelligent, he behaved just like a madman. He pretended to be dull, blind, and deaf, so that mundane people would not try to talk to him. But within himself, he was always thinking of the Lord and chanting his glories, which alone can save one from repeated birth and death. Jadabharata's father was filled with affection for his son, and in his heart he hoped that Jadabharata would someday become a learned scholar. Therefore, he tried to teach him the intricacies of Vedic knowledge. But Jadabharata purposely behave like a fool, so that his father would abandon his attempts to instruct him. If his father told him to do something, he would do exactly the opposite. Nevertheless, Jadabarta's father, until the time of his death, always tried to instruct the boy. Jadabarta's 9 step-brothers considered him dull and brainless, and when their father died, they abandoned all attempts to educate him. They could not understand Jadabarta's inner spiritual advancement. But Jadabarta never protested their mistreatment, for he was completely liberated from the bodily concept of life. Whatever food came his way, he would accept it and eat, whether it was much or little, palatable or unpalatable. Since he was in full transcendental consciousness, he was not disturbed by material dualities like heat and cold. His body was as strong as a bull's and his limbs were very muscular. He didn't care for winter's cold, summer's heat, wind, or rain. Because his body was perpetually dirty, his spiritual knowledge and effulgence were covered, just like a valuable gem covered by dirt and grime. Each day he was insulted and neglected by ordinary people who considered him to be nothing more than a useless fool. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mata. Yes. Jadabarata is already in liberated platforms. He doesn't care about heat, cold, like Brahmabhuta stage. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma Suchati Nakangshati. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So he's already a devotee, Supreme Lord, devotee of Supreme Lord. So in the previous section, so Krishna giving this knowledge, right? Everything is come from him. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, right? That is Sarvasya Chaham Hrudi Sannivisto. He is situated in the heart of every living being, and from him Sarvasya Chaham Hrudi Sannivisto Mattah Smriti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Smriti remembrance, Jnanam knowledge, and Apohanam forgetfulness. So if we see this, therefore, although he was very intelligent, who? Jadabarata, he behaved just like a madman. He pretended to be dull, blind, and deaf, so that mundane people would not try to talk to him. But within himself, he was always thinking of the Lord and chanting his glories, which alone can save from repeated birth and death. So how can we save from repeated birth? Answer is found here. How can? Anybody? Alone can save one from repeated birth and death. He's acting like a madman, because if somebody acting or behaving like madman, nobody goes nearby. I don't know what he's going to do to save from this. But internally, he was always thinking about Krishna and his glories. So how can we save from repeated birth and death? Answer is here only. What are these Prabhus?
Thinking of Lord and chanting his glories.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's it. That is what it is. Answer. Many pastimes are an exemplary. Many pastimes we see in the Bhagavatam. So that is what always remembering Krishna never forgets. That's the thing. So here Jadabarata purposely, but Jadabarata purposely behave like a fool so that his father would abandon his attempts to instruct him. If his father told him to do something, he would do exactly the opposite. Nevertheless, Jadabarata's father, until the time of his death, always tried to instruct the boy. So he has 9 stepbrothers, considered him dull and brainless. When their father died, they abandoned all attempts to educate him. They could not understand Jadabarata's inner spiritual advancement. So this is what it is. Bodily concept of life. Oh, anybody know what is the bodily concept of life? Liberated from bodily concept of life. Was completely liberated bodily concept of life. That's where it doesn't feel about cold, hot, pain, pleasure beyond the body on the soul platform. Bodily concept of life means, again, we all know eating, sleeping, mating, defending. That is bodily needs. The bodily concept of sense gratification is nothing but bodily concept of life. Since Jadabarata is in full transcendental consciousness, he was not disturbed by material dualities. So this material world is made up of dualities. Dvandva. The nature is dvandva. Material nature is dvandva. Nobody ever become happy. Nobody ever becomes sorrow. It's changing every time. That's like just like seasons. Because his body was perpetually dirty, his spiritual knowledge and effulgence were covered. Just like a valuable gem covered by the dirt and grime. Each day he was insulted and neglected by ordinary people who consider him to be nothing more than a useless fool. So this is the story of Jadabharata. But internally, he's very cognizant and all the good qualities. He's remembering Supreme Lord. I mean, he don't care about external world and external things. Let us continue.
అంటే కర్మలు కూడా ఏమి ఉండవు కదా ప్రభుజీ, జడభర్త అంటే మ్యాడ్ మ్యాన్ లాగా ఉన్నందుకు.
అట్లే ఉండదు. నెక్స్ట్ ఉండదు మాతాజీ. Yes. Now let us read from this paragraph. Vendala Mataji, can you please read?
Jadabharata's only wages were the small portions of unpalatable foodstuffs provided by his brothers, who made him work like a slave in the fields. But he was unable to perform even simple tasks satisfactorily because he did not know where to spread dirt or where to make the ground level. For food, his brothers gave him broken rice chaff, oil cakes, worm-eaten grains, and burned grains that had stuck to the bottom of the cooking pots. But Jadabharata gladly accepted all this as if it were nectar, and he never held any grudges. He thus displayed the symptoms of a perfectly self-realized soul. Once the leader of a band of thieves and murderers went to the temple of goddess Bhadrakali to offer in sacrifice a dull, unintelligent human being resembling an animal. Such sacrifices are nowhere mentioned in the Vedas and were concocted by the robbers for the purpose of gaining material wealth. Their plan was foiled, however, when the man who was to have been sacrificed escaped, so that chief robber sent his henchmen out to find him. Searching through the fields and forests in the darkness of night, the robbers came to the rice field and saw Jadabharata, who was sitting on high ground guarding the field against attacks of wild bulls. The robbers thought Jadabharata would be a perfect sacrifice. Their faces shining with happiness, the robbers bought him with strong ropes and brought him to the temple of goddess Kali. Jadabharata, because of his complete faith in protection of Supreme Lord, did not protest. There is a song by famous spiritual master that reads, "My Lord, I am now surrendered unto you. I am your eternal servant, and if you like, you can kill me, or you like, you can protect me. In any case, I am fully surrendered unto you." Should I continue?
Yes.
The robbers bathed Jadabharata, dressed him in new silk garments, and decorated him with ornaments and garlands. They fed him with a sumptuous last meal and brought him before the goddess, whom they worshipped with songs and prayers. Jadabharata was forced to sit before the deity. Then one of the thieves, acting as a chief priest, raised a razor-sharp sword to slit Jadabharata's throat, so that they could offer his warm blood as liquor. Offer Kali his warm blood as liquor. But the goddess could not bear this. She understood that the sinful thieves were about to kill a great devotee of the Lord. Suddenly, the form of the deity burst open, and the goddess herself appeared, her body burning with an intense, intolerable effulgence. The infuriated goddess flashed her blazing eyes and displayed her fierce, curved teeth. Her eyes' crimson orbs glowed, and she appeared as if she were prepared to destroy the entire cosmos. Leaping violently from the altar, she quickly decapitated all the rogues and thieves with the very sword with which they had intended to kill the saint Jadabharata.
Hare Krishna. So Lord protect his devotees at every time. That's what we have to understand. He's a great devotee of Supreme Lord. The thieves wanted to kill in front of the Kali deity, but Kali didn't bear this pain of a devotee, or a great devotee. She appeared, and with this is the explanation, describing how she appeared. Her body burning with an intense, intolerable effulgence, her infuriated goddess flashed with blazing eyes, displayed her fierce, curved teeth, her eyes crimson orbs, glowed and she appeared as if she were prepared to destroy the entire cosmos. Leaping violently from the altar, she quickly decapitated all the rogues and thieves with the very sword with which they had intended to kill the saint Jada Bharata. So that's what it is we have to understand. So this is what we are learning from with Jada Bharata. Anybody know? I mean, anybody want to share anything? So this is the see, this section is done, the life of Jada Bharata. What do we understand with this? Anybody likes to share? Pavan Prabhu, Swapna Mataji, Sirisha Mataji, Gomati Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Actually, today I especially joined the call to understand how Jadavarta has attained Golokadam. But looking at the like what is this
First time.
this story, I was actually past time. Yes, I was literally shocked, Prabhuji. I mean, I expected he will become a good like I mean, he will do a good seva, all a great devotee, and he will do all sevas and all. But why he has chosen this kind of life where he has become a madman kind of thing, and how he is serving Lord is little confusing for me. I mean, how he attained.
See, Mataji, Lord's pastimes. So what happens here? How we, madman like? See that's what. How means? How can we say? It has to happen like that in his next life. So the madman like how he appeared but he has internally is a great devotee, but he's behaving just
why
like
he
mad.
is behaving like this?
So
yeah,
that
I mean, in previous life he was a sage, right, Prabhuji? He was a rishi. I mean, previous life. After that, he has taken a deer body, and after that, now he is a Jadavarta. This past time. So, like this also. Why he's like? I'm not telling why he's doing like this, but just trying to understand how he realized Krishna at his last.
See, he has 3 pastimes. First, this is the third life which we are reading.
Correct.
First life also, he is a great king. He renounced everything and went for self-realization, but he attached to deer and he got the second body in the deer form, but got the human consciousness. Second life is done, and after end of the second life, after he spent life at hermitage of the various sages and munis, so he got this form, the third life. That is called Jada Bharata. So why he acted like that? To save from him for the material distractions. For example, so he also what is that? There is in the Prabhupada writings. He is a great son. His father is a very affectionate father. See, if we read this, every time he wanted to give instructions to his son to become a nice person, nice devotee. Jadabharata's father was filled with affection for his son, and in his heart he hoped that Jadabharata would someday become a learned scholar. Therefore, he tried to teach him intricacies of Vedic knowledge. But Jadabharata purposely behaved like a fool so that his father would abandon his attempts to instruct him. If his father told him to do something, he would do exactly the opposite. Nevertheless, Jadabharata's father, until the time of his death, always tried to instruct the boy. So, So how can we understand for this? So
పాస్ట్ టైం ని అదే ప్రభుజీ పాస్ట్ టైం ఎలా అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి కృష్ణని ఇలా కూడా సర్వ్ చేయొచ్చా అని ఐ జస్ట్ గాట్ దిస్ డౌట్ ప్రభుజీ ఐ మీన్ వై పర్పస్ హీస్ పర్పస్ఫుల్ ఇక్కడ ఇందాక హీస్ పర్పస్ఫుల్లీ బిహేవింగ్ లైక్ ఎ ఫూల్ అని అంటున్నారు కదా సో
అంటే బ్యాక్ టు గాడ్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళాలంటే రిపీటెడ్ బర్త్ అంటే ఉండకూడదు కదా ప్రభుజీ. సో అందుకని ఈ లైఫ్ లో తను చాలా కాన్షియస్ గా ఉన్నాడు అనమాట. సో ఎలా అయినా గాడ్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళాలి అని అంటే నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను ప్రభుజీ. మేబీ
he doesn't want to attach to any fame or anything by acting in a biased ways, because in his previous life he got attached to deer and again took a deer, so he don't want to get attached to anything.
Third lifetime, correct. See, he distance in himself. He don't want to associate with, materialistic way. And he already know this is the third lifetime. He remembered, so now this is now I need to take more seriousness. I don't want to associate any materialistic things or materialistic people. Because is the seriousness he got to know. That's where he's not. He's like acting like a madman, dull-headed, brainless, like that. But they could not understand that Jadabharata's inner spiritual advancement. He writes, he was completely liberated from the bodily concept of life. He's a devotee beyond the bodily needs. Or that's where he is tolerated about this. It doesn't affect anything like cold, heat, pain, pleasure. Brahmabhuta stage. Brahmabhuta prasannatmana sochati na kankshati. Yeah, actually, even if you look at our 6 Goswamis, they adopted a life of mendicants, just like madmen only, just like mad people. But internally, they are great devotees of the Supreme Lord. External things doesn't matter actually. External things, of course, away. That's the thing, if somebody acts like madman, behave like madman, nobody close to that person, because we don't know. Suddenly he picks up the knife and kill. Don't know. Suddenly he picks up the stone and throw. We see, right, in madman మనం చూస్తాం కదా బయట ఎట్లా ఉంటారు. సో అందుకే just to no any material interactions, just to away from this person, that in order to save from himself from the interactions are like that. So how do we understand? So again, Jadabharata's life is a liberated state. He's a great devotee now. He got complete full consciousness about Krishna and his ultimate goal, come back to God. And that's where he always thinking, always glorifying Supreme Lord internally. So that's the thing. What we have to understand is, see, that's the thing. Devotees are sometimes, crazy. I mean, crazy in terms of good things only. Crazy in terms of the consciousness, the activities. See, in our Krishna consciousness also, Prabhupada writes actually this one. 24 hours we can utilize our time in Krishna service. The materialistic people say, if they look at this, activity, this lifestyle, they won't come to the near to the devotee. So they are mad, they have too much devotion, too much this thing, too many regulations, too many rules. Don't come to that, that devotees, they won't want to connect with this kind of devotees. So that is the thing. So in other way, devotees are crazy and mad towards Supreme Lord. We can understand that way, crazy and mad towards Supreme Lord. with love and devotion serving Krishna. So that's the thing. External doesn't matter. Internal matters. But that internal itself is a main thing. But automatically Prabhupada writes in some purports, when a person internally developed all the good qualities, it displayed in his body, in external world also. So this pastime is like that. Because he got the third life. So he wanted to utilize this third life to go back home, back to Godhead. So Gomati Matadi,
Yes,
got
sir.
the point or any
Yeah, yeah. No, Prabhuji. Yeah, yeah. He's totally aloof from the material life, Prabhuji. I think, like what is said in the past time, internally, spiritually, he's progressing, and externally, very aloof from material life. Totally not
intentionally.
attached to material life.
Mm.
So that's how he's meditating on Krishna.
Yes. Because only by Krishna's mercy only he got to know that he passed through two previous lives, and now this is the third life. That's the thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
No other person. See, we won't get this for our life also. We don't know what was our previous body. So in 3 lifetimes, somehow or other he remembered Krishna. But in 2 lifetimes he was attached to some material things. In the Rajarshi, that he renounced everything. He went to forest and sat down and meditating. Took so much austerity, but suddenly his mind distracted to the deer body, the deer, small deer. And then in the second life, what happened? He got the deer body. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. At the end of life, that means the Rajarshi life, he was thinking too much about deer. He got the deer body. But with Krishna's mercy, he got the human consciousness. He understood his mistake. And we know that he took shelter at the hermitage. He knows the places. So in the deer's body, we read the past time, right? In the deer's body, how we got to know his previous place where he sat for meditation, where different places. So, and he went there and he completely, take shelter at the deer took shelter at the hermitage, and he got the consciousness of again remembering Lord at the time of death, and he got this form. In this form, he got fully conscious about Supreme Lord, and this is the last life, and he is ready to go back to God. Now, this is very much interested lesson. Jada Bharata instructs King Rahaguna. Yeah. Yeah, please, Gomatmat, you can read.
Yes. After his escape, Jadapartha instructs King Rahugana. After his escape from the Kali temple, Jadapartha continued his wanderings, remaining aloof from ordinary materialistic men. One day, King Rahugana of Sauvia was being carried through the district on a palanquin resting on the shoulders of several servants. The men who were fatigued began to falter. Realizing they would need another carrier to help them cross the Iksumati river, the king's servants began searching for someone. Soon they saw Jadabharata, who appeared to be a good choice because he was very young and strong as an ox. But because he saw all living beings as his brothers, Jadabharata could not perform this task very well. As he walked, he kept stopping to be sure that he wasn't stepping on any ants. According to the stubble but precise laws of reincarnation, all living entities must remain for a specific length of time in a particular body before being promoted to a higher form. When an animal is killed before its time, the soul must return to that same species to complete its engagement in that type of body. Therefore, the Vedas enjoin that one should always avoid whimsically killing other living beings. Unaware of what was causing the delay, King Rahugana shouted, "What's going on? Can't you carry?"
Hare Krishna. Was maybe internet issue? I don't know. Yeah, Madai.
Yes, Prabhuji, my connection lost and I reconnected. Hearing the threatening voice of the king, the frightened servants replied that the disturbance was caused by the Jadabarta. The king angrily chastised him, sarcastically accusing Jadabarta of carrying the palanquin like a weak, skinny, tired old man. But Jadabarta, who understood his true spiritual identity, knew that he was not his body. He was neither fat, nor lean, nor thin, nor did he have anything to do with the lump of flesh and bones that compromised his body. He knew that he was an eternal spirit soul situated within the body like a driver within a machine. Therefore, Jadabarta remained unaffected by the king's angry criticism. Even if the king were to order him killed, he would not have cared, but he knew that the soul is eternal and can never be killed. As Lord Krishna says in the Gita, the soul is not slain when the body is slain. Jadabarta remained silent and kept carrying the palanquin as before. But the king, unable to control his temper, shouted, "You rascal, what are you doing? Don't you know that I am your master? For your disobedience, I shall now punish you." "My dear king," said Jadabarta, "whatever you have said about me is true. You seem to think that I have not labored hard enough to carry your palanquin. That is true, because actually I am not carrying your palanquin at all. My body is carrying it, but I am not my body. You accuse me of not being very stout and strong, but this merely shows you ignorance of the spirit soul. The body may be fat or thin, or weak or strong, but no learned man would say such things about the real self within. As far as my soul is concerned, it is neither fat nor skinny. Therefore, you are correct when you say that I am not very strong." Very good.
Very good. Thank you, Madai. So let us continue. Yeah. Sapan Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, Madai, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead, Madai.
Jadabarata then began to instruct the king, saying, You think you are Lord and Master, and you are therefore trying to command me. But this is also incorrect, because these positions are ephemeral. Today you are a king and I am your servant. But in our next lives, our positions may be reversed. You may be my servant and I your master. Just as the waves of the ocean brings pieces of straw together and then break them apart, the force of eternal time brings living entities together in temporary relationships, such as master and servant, and then breaks them apart and rearranges them. In any case, Jadabharata continued, who is master and who is servant. Everyone is forced to act by the laws of material nature. Therefore, no one is master and no one is servant. The Vedas explain that the human beings in this material world are like actors on a stage, performing under the direction of a superior. On stage, one actor may play the role of a master and another may play the role of a servant, but they are both actually the servants of the director. In the same way, all living entities are the servants of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. Their roles as masters and servants in the material world are temporary and imaginary. After explaining all this to King Rahugana, Jadabharata said, if you still think that you are the master and that I am the servant, I shall accept this. Please order me. What can I do for you?
King Raugana, who had been trained in spiritual science, was astonished to hear the teachings of Jadabharata. Recognizing him as a saintly person, the king quickly descended from his palanquin. His material conception of himself as a great monarch had been obliterated, and he fell humbly to the ground, his body outstretched, offering obeisances, his head at the feet of the holy man. O saintly person, why are you moving through the world unknown to others? Who are you? Where do you live? Why have you come to this place? O spiritual master, I am blind to spiritual knowledge. Please tell me how I may advance in spiritual life. Can I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes.
King Raugana's behavior is exemplary. The Vedas declare that everyone, even kings, must approach a spiritual master in order to gain knowledge of the soul and the process of reincarnation. Jadabharata replied, because his mind is full of material desire, the living entity takes on different bodies in this material world to enjoy and suffer the pleasures and pains brought about by material activity.
Okay, Mata. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Self-explanatory. Thank you. So now, Sapan Prabhu still there, Hare Krishna? I think he left. Okay. So now, Lakshmi Mata, Hare Krishna, you want to read? Swapna Mata ji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I would like to read.
Yes. After Swapna Mata, you can read Lakshmi Mata. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
This one, when one sleeps at night.
When one sleeps at night, one's mind creates many dream-like situations of enjoyment and suffering. A man may dream that he is associating with a beautiful woman, but this enjoyment is illusory. He may also dream that he is being chased by a tiger, but the anxiety he experiences is also unreal. In the same way, material happiness and distress are simply mental creations based on identification with the material body and material possessions. When one awakens to his original spiritual consciousness, he sees that he has nothing to do with these things. One accomplishes this by concentrating one's mind in meditation upon the Supreme Lord. If one fails to constantly fix one's mind on the Supreme Lord and render service to him, he must undergo the cycle of birth and death described by Jadabharata. The condition of the mind causes birth in different types of bodies. Jadabharata said, these bodies may be those of many different species. For when one uses the mind to understand spiritual knowledge, he gets a higher body. And when one uses it only for obtaining material pleasure, he receives a lower body. Jadabharata compared the mind to a flame in a lamp. When the flame burns the wick improperly, the lamp is blackened with soot. But when the lamp is filled with clarified butter and the flame burns properly, the lamp produces brilliant illumination. The mind absorbed in material life brings endless suffering in the cycle of reincarnation. But when the mind is used to cultivate spiritual knowledge, it brings about the original brightness of spiritual life. Jadabharata then warned the king, as long as one identifies with the material body, he must wander throughout the unlimited universes in different species of life. Therefore, the uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living being. My dear King Rahugana, as long as the conditioned soul accepts the material body and is not freed from the contamination of material enjoyment, and as long as he is Hare Krishna Prabhu, as long as he does not conquer his senses and his mind, and come to the platform of self-realization by awakening his spiritual knowledge. He is forced to wander in different places and in different forms in this material world. Jadabharata then revealed his own past lives. In a previous birth, I was known as King Bharata. I attained perfection by becoming completely detached from material activities. I was fully engaged in the service of Lord, but I relaxed my control over my mind and became so affectionate to a small deer that I neglected my spiritual duties. At the time of death, I could think of nothing but this deer. So, in my next life, I had to accept the body of a deer. Jadabharata concluded his teachings by informing the king that those who desire freedom from the cycle of reincarnation must always associate with self realized devotees of the Lord. Only by associating with exalted devotees can one attain the perfection of knowledge and cut to pieces the illusionary associations of this material world. Unless one has the opportunity to get the association of the devotees of the Lord, he can never understand the first thing about spiritual life. The absolute truth is revealed only to one, sorry, who has attained the mercy of a great devotee. Because in the assembly of pure devotees, there is no question of discussing material subjects like politics and sociology. In an assembly of pure devotees, there is discussion only of the qualities, forms, and pastimes of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised and worshipped with full attention. This is the simple secret by which one can revive his dormant spiritual consciousness, end forever the vicious cycle of reincarnation, and return to the life of eternal pleasure in the supreme world. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Mother. Yes. This also, all these paragraphs are easy to understand, pretty straightforward. Thank you, Mother. We'll read complete this one also.
Yes, Prabhuji. After receiving lessons from the great devotee Jadabharata, King Rahugana became fully aware of the constitutional position of the soul and gave up completely the bodily conception of life, which chains the pure souls to the endless cycle of birth and death in the material world.
Thank you, Mother. Yeah, let us read this section. So, Lakshmi Mataji, can you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Visitors from beyond. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Bhagavad Gita 8.6. As the soul sets out on its mysterious journey after death, it may, according to the traditions of the world's great religions, meet with beings from other levels of reality, angels who help it, or judges who weigh its good and evil deeds on the scales of cosmic justice. A variety of religious art objects spanning the entire range of man's cultural history depict such scenes. A painting on a fragment of Etruscan pottery shows an angelic figure attending a fallen warrior. A Christian mosaic from the Middle Ages shows a grim Saint Michael, the scales of justice in his hands. Many people who have had near-death experiences often report encountering such beings. In the Vedic scriptures of India, we learn of the servants of Lord Vishnu who appear at the time of death to accompany the pious soul on its way to the spiritual world. The Vedas also tell of the fearsome agents of Yamaraja, the Lord of Death, who forcefully arrest the soul of a sinful man and prepare it for its next incarnation in the prison of a material body. In this historical account, the servants of Vishnu and servants of Yamaraja dispute the fate of the soul of Ajamila, deciding whether he should be liberated or reincarnated. In the city of Kanya Kupcha, there once lived a young saintly Brahmana priest named Azamila who fell from the path of spiritual life and lost all of his good qualities when he fell in love with a prostitute. Giving up his priestly duties, Azamila now made his living through robbery and gambling and passed his life in debauchery. By the time he was 88 years old, Azamila had fathered 10 sons by the prostitute. The youngest, a baby, was named Narayana, one of the names of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Azamila was very attached to his young son and derived great pleasure watching the child's early attempts to walk and talk. One day, without warning, the time of death arrived for the foolish Azamila. Terrified, the old man saw before him gruesome figures with fierce, twisted faces. These subtle beings with the ropes in their hands had come to forcibly escort him to the court of Emraja, the Lord of Death. Seeing these ghoulish creatures, Azamila became bewildered and, out of affection for his beloved child, who was playing a short distance away, he began to cry loudly, Narayana, Narayana. With tears in his eyes, weeping for his young son, the great sinner Azamila unconsciously chanted the holy name of the Lord. Hearing their master's name chanted with great feeling by the dying Azamila, the order carriers of Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, arrived within a second. They appeared just like Lord Vishnu himself. Their eyes were exactly like the petals of a lotus flower. They wore helmets of burnished gold, glimmering silk garments the color of topaz, and their perfectly formed bodies were decorated with garlands of sapphire and milk white lotuses. They appeared fresh and youthful, and their dazzling effulgence illuminated the darkness of the death chamber. In their hands, they held bows, arrows, swords, conch shells, clubs, discs, and lotus flowers. The Vishnu Dutas saw the servants of Yamaraja, the Yamadutas, snatching Ajamila's soul from the core of his heart, and with resounding voices they cried, Stop! The Yamadutas, who had never before encountered any position, trembled upon hearing the Vishnudutas' harsh command. Who are you? Who are you trying to stop us? They asked. We are the servants of Yamaraja, the Lord of Death. The agents of Vishnu smiled and spoke in voices as deep as the rumbling of rain clouds. If you are truly the servants of Yamaraja, you must explain to us the meaning of the cycle of birth and death. Tell us who must enter this cycle and who must not. The Yamadutas replied, The sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, the directions, water, land, and the supersoul or the Lord within the heart all witness the activities of everyone. The candidates for punishments in the cycle of birth and death are those who are confirmed by these witnesses who to have deviated from their religious duties. In proportion to the extent of one's religious or irreligious actions in this life, one must enjoy or suffer the corresponding reactions of karma in the next. Originally, the living beings exist in the spiritual world as eternal servants of God, but when they give up the service of the Lord, they must enter the material universe comprised of the three modes of nature goodness, passion, and ignorance. The Yamadusas explained that the living beings who desire to enjoy this material world come under the control of the modes and, according to their specific relationship with these modes, acquired suitable material bodies. A being in the mode of goodness obtains the body of a demigod. One in the mode of passion takes birth as a human. One in the mode of ignorance enters the lower species. All of these bodies are like the bodies we experience in dreams. When a man goes to sleep, he forgets his real identity and may dream that he has become a king. He cannot remember what he was doing before he went to sleep, nor can he imagine what he will do upon waking. In the same way, when a soul identifies with a temporary material body, he forgets his real spiritual identity as well as any previous lives in the material world. Although most souls in a human body have already transmigrated through all 8,400,000 species of life. The living entity thus transmigrates from one material body to another in human life, animal life, and life as a demigod. The Yamaduta said, when the living entity gets the body of a demigod, he is very happy. When he gets a human body, he is sometimes happy, sometimes sad. When he gets the body of an animal, he is always fearful. In all conditions, however, he suffers terribly, experiencing birth, death, disease, and old age. His miserable condition is called samsara, or transmigration of the soul through different species of material life.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Mate.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for reading. Now we are, Prabhupada writes Ajamila example in these paragraphs. You all know Ajamila pastime. So is this also pretty straightforward? Anybody have anything to share while reading? That's the thing, material, how material body takes place according to desires, our mind, from mind only, right? Thinking, feeling, willing. So where we place our desires, that matters the next body. So that's the thing. So here, Ajamila's story is explaining about that, how he is attached to these material things, especially, he attracted to that prostitute, and we got 10 children. One of the children named Narayana, and he, what is that? Unknowingly, I mean, it's not directly calling in Supreme Lord, but his son named Narayana, so he called out. But Krishna is so merciful. He sent his agents, Vishnu Dutas, to save him. Right, so let us continue reading. Yeah, this one. These are the instructions again. From Ajamila story also we can understand how these four things, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, and then how we can get rid of these four. So that's the thing. So let us read from here again. Samyukta Mataji, can you read this?
Yes, Prabhuji. The foolish embodied living entity, the Yamadutas continued, unable to control his senses or his mind, is forced to act according to the influence of the modes of material nature, even against his own desires. He is like a silkworm that uses its own saliva to create a cocoon and then becomes trapped in it. The living entity traps himself in a network of his own fruitive activities and then can find no way to free himself. Thus, he is always bewildered and repeatedly dies and is reborn. Because of his intense material desires, said the Yamadutas, a living entity takes birth in a particular family and receives a body like that of either the mother or the father. That body is an indication of his past and future bodies, just as one springtime is an indication of past and future springtimes. The human form of life is especially valuable because only a human can understand the transcendental knowledge that can free him from the cycle of birth and death. But Ajamila had wasted his human life. In the beginning, the Yamaduta said Ajamila studied all the Vedic literatures. He was a reservoir of good character and conduct. He was very mild and gentle, and he kept his mind and senses under control. He was always truthful, knew how to chant the Vedic mantras, and was very pure. Ajamila always showed proper respect to his spiritual master, guests, and the elderly members of his household. Indeed, he was free from false prestige. He was benevolent to all living beings and never envied anyone. Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
But once Ajamila, following the order of his father, went to the forest to collect fruits and flowers. On the way home, he came upon a very lusty, low-class man shamelessly embracing and kissing a prostitute. The man was smiling, singing, and enjoying himself as if this were proper behavior. Both the men and the prostitute were drunk. The prostitute's eyes were rolling in intoxication, and her dress had become loose, partially exposing her body. When Ajamila saw this prostitute, the dormant lusty desires in his heart awakened, and in illusion he fell under their control. He tried to remember the instructions of the scriptures, and with the help of his knowledge and intellect, he tried to control his lust. But because of the force of Cupid within his heart, he was unable to control his mind. After that, he always thought of the prostitute, and within a short time, he took her as a servant in his house. Ajamila,
Go ahead.
Ajamila then gave up all of his spiritual practices. He spent the money he had inherited from his father for presents for the prostitute and even rejected his beautiful young wife who came from a respectable Brahmana family. This rascal Ajamila got money any way he could, legally or illegally, and used it to maintain the prostitute's sons and daughters. Before death, he did not undergo atonement. Therefore, because of his sinful life, we must take him to the court of Yamaraja. There, according to the extent of his sinful acts, he will be punished and then return to the material world in a suitable body. After hearing the statements of the Yamadutas, the servants of Lord Vishnu, who are always expert in logic and argument, replied, "How painful it is to see that those in charge of upholding religious principles are needlessly punishing an innocent person. Ajamila has already atoned for all of his sins. Indeed, he has atoned not only for sins performed in this life, but for those performed in millions of previous lives as well, because he chanted the holy name of Narayana in a helpless state of mind at the time of death. Therefore, he is now pure and eligible for liberation from the cycle of reincarnation."
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Continue. Yeah. Venala Mataji, could you read? Hare Krishna Mataji is still there. Venala Mataji? Hare Krishna. Okay. Anyone likes to read?
Prabhuji, I will read.
Go ahead.
The chanting of the holy name of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Duta said, is the best process of atonement for a thief or a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or relative, for one who kills a priest, or for one who indulges in sex with wife of his guru or another superior. It is also the best method of atonement for one who murders woman, the king or his father, for one who slaughters cows, and for all other sinful men. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu, such sinful persons may attract the attention of Supreme Lord, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, it is my duty to give him in this present age of incarnation, chant Hare Krishna Mahantra, the way of deliverance, deeply cleanses the heart of all material desires that keep one trapped in the cycle of birth and death. The Vishnu Dutas said, one who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants jokingly or for musical entertainment. This is accepted in the scriptures and by all learned scholars. If one chants the holy name of Lord Krishna and then dies in an accident or is killed by a deadly animal from disease or by any weapon, one is immediately free from having to take birth again. As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, the holy name of Krishna burns to ashes all of one's karmic reactions. The Vishnu Dutas then said, if a person unaware of the potency of a medicine takes that medicine or is forced to take it, it will act even without his knowledge. Even if one does not know the value of chanting the holy name of the Lord, the chanting will still be effective in liberating one from incarnation. At the time of death, said the Vishnu Dutas, Ajamila helplessly and very loudly chanted the holy name of the Lord, Narayana. That chanting alone has already freed him from having to taken birth again for his sinful life. Therefore, do not try to take him to your master for punishment by another term of imprisonment in a material body. The Vishnu Dutas then released Ajamila from the ropes of the servants of the Lord of Death. Ajamila came to his senses and free from fear
paid his heartful respects to Vishnudutas by bowing his head at their feet. But when the Vishnudutas saw that Ajamila was trying to say something to them, they disappeared. Was this a dream I saw? Ajamila wondered. Was it really? I saw fearsome men with ropes in their hands coming to drag me away. Where have they gone? And where are those four radiant persons who saved me? Ajamila then began to reflect on his life, being a servant of my senses. How degraded I became. I fell down from my position as a saintly Brahmana and begot children in the womb of a prostitute. Indeed, I gave up my chaste and beautiful young wife. What's more, my father and mother were What's more, my father and mother were old and had no other friend or son to look after them. Because I did not take care of them, they lived with great pain and difficulty. It is now clear that a sinful person like myself should have been forced in his next life to suffer hellishly. I am such an unfortunate person, said Ajamila. But now that I have another chance, I must try to become free from the vicious cycle of birth and death. Shall I continue?
Complete. Yes, Mother, please complete.
Ajamila immediately renounced his prostitute wife and journeyed to Haridwar, a place of pilgrimage in the Himalaya mountains. There, he took shelter at a Vishnu temple where he practiced Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. When his mind and intelligence were fixed in perfect meditation on the form of Lord, Ajamila again saw before him four celestial beings, recognizing them as the same Vishnudutas who had saved him from the agents of death. He bowed down before them. There at Haridwar, on the banks of Ganges, Ajamila gave up his temporary material body and regained his eternal spiritual form. Accompanied by the Vishnudutas, he boarded a golden aircraft and passing through the airways went directly to the abode of Lord Vishnu, never again to reincarnate in this material world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. This chapter done. So two pastimes, Jadabharata, Ajamila pastimes. What we have to understand is reincarnation. That means again taking birth. So how a soul can take birth again in the material world? Because of the desires. What we desire for. If you desire for Krishna, if you remember Krishna at the time of Lord, at the time of death, there is no question of reincarnation. No birth. We remember Krishna, we goes to back to God. So two pastimes, Jadabharata, 3 lifetimes, and Ajamila, how he fell down and again risen up to understand his mistake and practice again Bhakti Yoga. And after completely purified, then only Vishnuduta came to take him. So Bhakti Yoga only, many places in the Bhagavatam. Bhakti Yoga, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajante Purusham Param. So with the Bhakti Yoga only, we can avoid this repetition of birth and death. We can, as per scripture's instruction and Vaishnava Acharya's instructions. So that's the thing. So this chapter talks about 3 lifetimes, right? 3 histories of reincarnation. There is 3 histories. Jadabharata history, Ajamila history. There is one more. What is that? Chitraketu, Angira Muni. You all remember these 3 pastimes. Prabhupada taken from Srimad Bhagavatam, those pastimes, and put it in this chapter to understand about the reincarnation. So Chitraketu, Angira Muni, that one. Chitraketu wanted a son. We have gone through that in this chapter. And Ajamila's 3 lifetimes. And then Bharata, King Bharata had 3 lifetimes. And then Ajamila is a great Brahmana. So, but these 3 lifetimes, the 3 histories of reincarnation, we were able to understand. But finally, conclusive point is, we have to understand that how we utilize these 3 things, thinking, feeling, and willing, in Krishna's service. Three things: how we think, how we feel, how think, feel, willing, what we want. That matters. Next body. Either we get spiritual body or material body. Spiritual body returns to go back and back together. Material body, again, in the material pool, cycle of birth and death, in different species. That's the thing. So let us think about Supreme Lord. By reading, we get this knowledge. So let us have that consciousness. So what is the next chapter? Let me see. Three stages of incarnation. Then the soul's secret journey. Yeah. Another 5, 6, 7, 8. Another 4 chapters there in this book. So let us spend another 10 minutes. Is that okay, Prabhuji and Mataji? Can we
Okay,
spend?
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Can we spend? Yeah, let us spend 10. 8:5. We will wrap up. Chapter 5 talks about excerpts from the writings of Srila Prabhupada clearly demonstrate that the principles of reincarnation can be easily understood in terms of ordinary events and common observations that regularly occur in our daily lives. So the topic is chapter of this book, The Soul's Secret Journey. The Soul's Secret Journey, excerpt from the writings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One life is just a flash in time. I think, how much time? Yeah, it's another big chapter only. Let us see how much we can complete. Now, let me see. Venelamata is still there?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, can you read and in this session?
One life is just a flash in time. From time immemorial, the living entity travels in different species of life and different planets almost perpetually. This process is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Under the spell of Maya, everyone is wandering throughout the universe on the carriage of the body offered by the material energy. Materialistic life involves a series of actions and reactions. It is a long film full of actions and reactions, and one lifespan is just a flash in such a reactionary show. When a child is born, it is said to be understood that his particular type of body is beginning of another set of activities, and when an old man dies, it is to be understood that one set of reactionary activities is finished. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.13.44. Should I
Yes.
continue?
Continue. Yeah, this one also.
You get the body of your choice. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of Lord supplies him with exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal. Therefore, by the grace of Lord, the material energy supplied him the body of tiger facilitated for enjoying blood from another animal. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.
So this is beautiful actually. Why the soul's secret journey? I mean, Prabhupada writes in his books, different, Bhagavatam, they put in this. Very nice. Yes. Continue. This one also, Mataji, then later. Over to the
Death means forgetting your last life. After death, one forgets everything about the present bodily relationships. We have little experience of this at night when we go to sleep. While sleeping, we forget everything about this body and bodily relations. Although this forgetfulness is temporary situation only a few hours. Death is nothing but sleeping for a few months in order to develop another term of bodily engagement, which we are avoided by the law of nature according to our aspiration. Therefore, one has to change the aspiration during the course of this present body, and for this there is need of training in the current duration of human life. This training can be begun at any stage of life or even a few seconds before death, but the usual procedure is for one to get the training from the very early life. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.15.
Thank you, Mataji. So training means, train to our mind, what to think, what to feel, what to will. That's what it is. So if we train from the beginning of, the ideal age is at the age of 5, but I came to Krishna consciousness at the age of 33. But before that, I was, inclined towards God. But, the real essence, the real thing started, how to understand and take this life is seriousness started from, when I connected with devotees. The early is better. But, there is a point, even a few seconds before death, if you remember Lord, somehow, see, so that how can we remember? I mean, unless we put into practice, unless we practice these things, devotional life, unless we start life, how can we remember? It's not possible. I mean, at the end of life, that's a goal, right? Ante Narayana Smriti. There is one word. Ante Narayana Smriti in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, the goal of life is to remember Lord at the time of death. Prabhupada writes, the entire life is a preparation, death is an examination. In that examination, we have to remember Supreme Lord. Ante Narayana Smriti. There is another statement also. I mean, if a devotee conducts life according to rules and regulations of Vedic literature, but he still won't remember. For example, the whole life he spent good time of serving Krishna. Krishna is going to remember that devotee. So that is also there, confident. So there is no loss and diminution. Neha Vikram Nashosti. That verse we all know. So let us read 2 more paragraphs, then wrap up. Yeah. Anybody likes to read? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I'll read Prabhuji if no one is there.
Yeah, Lakshmi.
So I can read. So Prabhuji.
Read. Yeah, ఎవరైతే చదవండి మాతాజీ.
Yeah, the soul takes a human form first. Originally, the living entity is a spiritual being, but when he desires to enjoy this material world, he comes down. We can understand that the living entity first accepts a body that is human in form, but gradually, due to his degraded activities, he falls into lower forms of life, into the animal, plant, and aquatic forms. By the gradual process of evolution, the living entity again attains the body of a human being and is given another chance to get out of the process of transmigration. If he again misses his chance in the human form to understand his position, he is again placed in the cycle of birth and death in various types of bodies. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.29.4.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, the devotees read them. So actually, first the soul takes human form only, but according to activities, again it takes from different species, animal, plant, aquatics, etc. Yes, Lakshmi P. Mata, possibility. Please read.
Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The science of reincarnation is unknown to modern scientists. The science of transmigration is completely unknown to modern scientists. So-called scientists do not like to bother with these things because they would at all consider the subtle subject matter and the problems of life. They would see that their future is very dark. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.28.21. Shall I continue, Prabhuji? Okay. Ignorance of reincarnation is dangerous. Modern civilization is based on family comforts, the highest standard of amenities, and therefore, after retirement, everyone expects to live a very comfortable life in a well-furnished home, decorated with fine ladies and children, without any desire to get out of such comfortable home. High government officers and of such and ministers stick to their prize posts until death, and they neither dream nor desire to get out of the homely comforts. Bound by such hallucinations, materialistic men prepare various plans for a still more comfortable life. But suddenly, cruel death comes without mercy and takes away the great plan maker against his desire, forcing him to give up the present body for another body. Such a plan maker is thus forced to accept another body in one of the 8.4 million species of life, according to the fruits of the work he has performed. In the next life, persons who were too much attached to family comforts are generally awarded lower species of life on the account of sinful acts performed during a long duration of sinful life, and as all the energy of the human life is spoiled. In order to be saved from the danger of spoiling the human form and being attached to unreal things, one must take warning of death at the age of 50, if not earlier. The principle is that one should take it for granted that the death warning is already there, even prior to the attainment of 50 years of age. And thus, at any age of life, one should prepare himself for a better next life. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.16. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mate. Yes. Yeah. Self-explanatory. Thank you. Lakshmi Kematadi. Jadan. Hare Krishna Mate.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. And unto dust through thou shalt return. When we die, this material body composed of 5 elements, earth, water, air, fire, and ether, decomposes, and the gross materials return to the elements. Or, as the Christian Bible says, dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. In some societies, the body is burned, and in others, it is buried, and in others, it is thrown to animals. In India, the Hindus burn the body, and thus the body is transformed into ashes. Ash is simply another form of earth. Christians bury the body, and after some time in the grave, the body eventually turns to dust, which again, like ash, is another form of earth. There are other societies like the Parsi community in India that neither burn nor bury the body but throw it to the vultures, and the vultures immediately come to eat the body, and then the body is eventually transformed into stool. So in any case, this beautiful body which we are soaping and caring for so nicely will eventually turn into either stool, ashes, or dust. At death, the finer elements, mind, intelligence, and ego, carry the small particle of spirit soul to another body to suffer or enjoy according to one's work. The path of perfection, 101.
We read that small also. That's the thing. The three transformations of this body. Okay. So in any case, this beautiful body, Prabhupada, right? So in any case, this beautiful body, which we are soaping and caring for so nicely, will eventually turn into either stool, ashes, or dust. At death, the soul carries with mind, intelligence, and ego, false ego, to another body, according to one's own work, according to karma. Okay. Samyukta, wrap up చేద్దాం. Please read.
Yes, Prabhuji. Astrology and reincarnation. Astronomical calculations of stellar influences upon a living being are not suppositions, but are factual, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Every living being is controlled by the laws of nature at every minute, just as a citizen is controlled by the influence of the state. The state laws are grossly observed, but the laws of material nature, being subtle to our gross understanding, cannot be experienced grossly. The law of nature is so subtle that every part of our body is influenced by the respective stars, and a living being obtains his working body to fulfill his terms of imprisonment by the manipulation of such astronomical influences. A man's destiny is therefore ascertained by the birth time, constellation of stars, and a factual horoscope is made by a learned astrologer. It is a great science, and misuse of a science does not make it useless. This suitable arrangement of astral influences is never a creation of man's will, but is the arrangement of the superior management of the agency of the Supreme Lord. Of course, the arrangement is made according to the good or bad deeds of the living being. Herein lies the importance of pious acts performed by the living being. Only by pious acts can one be allowed to get good wealth, good education, and beautiful futures. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.12.12. Editor's note: the term learned astrologer in this selection refers to one fully learned in the exacting Vedic science of astrology, in comparison with which modern popular astrology is a foolish exercise in sentimentality compounded with error. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. This is very nice chapter actually, from different sections of Bhagavatam and various books. Nicely put it in this chapter. Very nice. Topic is the soul's secret journey, chapter 5. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll continue on Monday from this. Your thoughts create your next body. So nice. Yeah, this chapter is nice. Of course, every Srila Prabhupada books are nice to understand the spiritual concepts. Especially this chapter, from where Srila Prabhupada's purports he has written, they put it in this chapter. Nice. Thank you very much. So let us meet on Monday. Have a happy Krishna conscious weekend. Be in the Krishna conscious association. Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha hoy. Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi hoy. So we need to take association every weekend. Only when it is not possible, when we have some other important work, then we have to avoid. I mean, we may avoid, but most of the times we have to have in the association of the devotees. Otherwise, in devotional life, we won't get any inspiration to practice. That's the thing. So please join every satsangs, weekend satsangs. That is one of the resolution we all have read. Seriousness in satsangs. Okay, please. And I also attend here programs. Nice. Okay, thank you so much for today joining all of you. Samyukta Mataji, Swapna Mataji, Gomata Mataji, Sirisha Mataji, Lakshmi Mataji, Lakshmi Pasupuleti Mataji. Thank you so much. Dandavat pranams.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Tasindabhyam च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hi, Gaur Hari Premanande.
Hari Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna.